So let's start with how it is that you built up your capabilities.
Yeah. So I was doing my CA, and doing CA articles can be very boring. Those green ticks, innumerable. So I had a friend who had joined a stockbroker in research. Now, mind you, 1991, 92, research was hardly there in Indian markets, especially Indian brokers hardly did research. And this guy was actually one of the forefathers of research in India, Parag Parekh. And of course, the PPFAS now was not there. At that stage, he was just a stockbroker. And he was among the first people to start fundamental research. And I was a part of that team. So I was actually very, very fortunate. And to add to that, you had the Harshad Mehta bull market. And we used to get, my salary was 1,300 rupees. Okay, so at best I would spend 300. I would save 1,000 because I had nobody to give that money to, and I bought a stock called ACC. Now, if you have gone and seen the movie, the famous Harshad Mehta movie, you realize that ACC was the flag bearer. Correct. And suddenly I made a lot of money. And one day I remember that I had sold some stock, and Parag Bhai told me that, Atul, instead of investing in a stock, you should invest this in education.
So profound.
Very. And I really thank him for that line, because with that money, I actually funded my education. I did a master's overseas. So can you imagine the power of a trend I felt in my life in my first investment? And that is why, if you ask me, 30 years later also, all I do is trend investing and trend following, because over the years, over cycles, I've actually understood the power of markets, power of trends. And what I always do is look for stocks like that.
Right.
Your early influences life are very impressionable. So that was my first impression. Went to Australia, did a master's in international banking. So I learned fundamentals of what I would say in a theoretical way, the textbook style of it. Came back, joined a broker again. I was at that stage, AMCs were very few and far in between, Birla Sun Life.
Right.
And I saw the second big bull market of my life. This was the IT bull market. We also call it the Ketan Parekh bull run. And since I had studied abroad, I understood technology. So here again, to some extent, I would say I got lucky. I got my clients into a stock called Wipro. And Wipro did extremely well. In fact, Azim Premji, I remember, became the richest man in the world for a few weeks. And it was fantastic. I mean, I just felt top of the world. I'd done 10 years in the market, 91 to almost like 2000. And the clients loved me. There was a lot of wealth. And it always feels good when clients make money. But what happened when the Y2K bubble burst in early 2000? I saw money that was made over 2 years evaporate in 2 weeks. Because the markets used to go into circuit at those stages. So these stocks used to have 88% circuits. It was a different market, but it was very, very painful. And then I realized that, hey, I've spent 10 years in the market. The only thing I know is what to buy. Actually, I don't know what to sell. And it got me pretty shaken, because to see clients lose money is never enjoyable. It is very, very painful. So I realized that by the time we realized that the IT story is over, or the broker downgrades came, or we met companies, quarterly numbers, the market had done its job. The market was too fast. And I thought that, if I have the tools, or I continue using the tools I have, I don't think there's any way I can exit. So to exit, I got into some quantitative work. And I found that very interesting. And that's where I got introduced to this whole concept of trend following that you mentioned as a style. Most people think as technicals and charts as what you see on television, 5 stocks a day. It's not that. It is much more evolved than that. And trend following is actually a style and a method. Then in 2003, I got introduced to a large market player named Rakesh Jhunjhunwala. At that stage, Rakesh ji was not so famous or not the billionaire that he's known to be. But I was very fortunate that I saw that journey of, $1 billion being created in one stock, Titan. And what I liked about Rakesh ji, and I joined him in 2007, was that his unique ability to combine fundamentals. He had very good understanding of fundamentals, but with the market trends.
Right.
And that was my style also of trend following. So there was a lot to learn. I joined him in Rare for 10 years. Because I consider him the master of the trend. He has that famous line, vadhare, vadhare levanu, ghatade, ghatade vechwanu, which is classic of what trend following is. That is really 101. And I saw that happen in multiple stocks. So people know Rakeshji for Titan, or maybe for a Lupin or a Crisil or some other stocks. But for each one of them, he's also had his failures.
Right.
But the beauty was that he was able to sell his losses and ride his profits.
Right.
And that is what really created the wealth that there is. So that's why I call him the master of the trend. And his strength, most people think, people asked him, how did you identify Titan? The interesting part is the skill was not in identifying Titan. The skill was the way he navigated it. Because when he bought Titan, it was a watch company, right? But he made money, or that company made money in the jewelry, in the whole Tanishq story.
Yes.
So the beauty is the way he pyramided and the way he held on to the position. So that's why I realized that ultimately he was a great mentor to have. I worked with him till 2017. Then I applied for a PMS license, but we were still advisors to Ray. So we just did PMS with just for a few close family and friends. But in 2022, unfortunately, he passed away and the time to peel off had come. So we actually came out with our first major open public offering, which is the trend following PMS, and where you guys are my first big partners with exclusive